Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
Greetings and salutations. Another episode of Fangs up here, and man, I'm always excited about FAMU athletics, but now, we got to talk about FAMU football and kind of give our little bit of projections. You know what we think is gonna happen, who he is and who he ain't gonna beat, and yeah, man, it's been a little minute. Excuse the tardiness. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. A brother just hopped out the shower, man. I really do try to treat y'all like y'all gonna be in the room next to me. And I'm like, man, if it was me, I don't want to be smelling nobody in my front room stinking and smelling bad. So I myself feel like it's my job to not be one of them people. So before we do all that though, you know, big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home. Shout out Herb Sue and the Black Techies. Check them out. If you missed the show, they just posted the show yesterday, I believe. Man, look, retweeted it, shared it, all those good things. And if you can't see, I did hit Fred. I tell y'all, I'm so fresh out the shower, I didn't even brush my hair. I just smell good though. Smell good. But that being stated, man, we're gonna look into this Orange Blossom Classic or Blue Blossom Classic, depending on what side of the fence you're on for this one. Me personally, now y'all know it's gonna be the Orange Blossom Classic. It's always gonna be. So that's just me, my opinion, how I see things, and how I go about doing things. But man, whew, look, the T was IAD. Like that was what y'all was talking about on the Twitters, folks blocking each other and stuff like that. I'm glad I did not get involved in that. But yeah, that was what it was. That's what it is. And it's going to be interesting to see how our relations grow as FAMU and as alumni. So, but that being stated, we're going to just get a quick recap, major play. All right, so double checking the sound because as you can see, I love the Bluetooth, so I don't have the earphones going in my ears right this second. So I could be slick though. I'll do that. I'll be slick and put myself in the background just in case. But it is an interesting season to say the least because going into this game, FAMU's on a losing streak. Like we hadn't beat Jackson State in a long time. And that's not even being facetious or to be funny about it. That's being real. FAMU hadn't beat Jackson State in a football game in a extremely unnecessary long time. Like it just doesn't make sense. How long it's been since FAMU defeated Jackson State? Like it really doesn't. If you're just gonna be honest about it, like that's just me as a fan and me as a person. Like that's just is what it is. And so it's some of it is because of various reasons. And a lot of it does stem from the fact that we've had times where honestly we didn't have the best coaches. I mean, if we're going to be real about this and not lie about it, some of it also comes at the beginning of the Willie Simmons era, which that first loss of his to Jackson State while he was at FAMU was his first season at FAMU, and he had a winning season. So, and he lost against a third-year coach. Wasn't a first-year coach that he lost to. It was a third-year coach. Now, yeah, he did lose to Dion, but that was after Dion pretty much had that stacked roster. Like those were the two best teams in Southwestern Athletic Conference at that time. But now we're seeing maybe the two best, but maybe 1-3 in that first game of the season. And if you haven't heard yet, I got FAMU by 20. That's at this point. It started it off as kind of a gag, but then it's like, I'm just roll with this. Like I'm really gonna roll with this FAMU by 20 thing because why not? But two, I said it. So I'm very much one of those things where I said it. If I said it, I meant it. And so with me, that's where I'm at with this. I said it, I mean it, and I'm going to stick with it. And I'm not changing. I'm not going to move off that island until I have a reason to. And when I do have a reason to move off the island, I will. But right now, I got FAMU by 20. Now, another one, I could tell y'all when I said it, I meant it. Cable Busters TV. Who you gonna call? Cable Busters for NFL, NBA pay-per-view local TV, starting at $35 per month on up to 3 devices. That's a solid deal, y'all. 813-360-1902, cablebustertv.com. Got a 24-hour trial. Check out the website. I've been told the website is looking better. It's been updated and it's getting fixed. So, check them out, man. Check them out. We look today. We're gonna make sure we get our ad people in today. We're gonna make sure we get them in. We're going back to that FAMU versus Jackson State game, Orange Blossom Classic, Blue Blossom Classic, if you will. I don't care which way you see it. Me personally, with all those Jackson State fans that want to talk trash, you have every right. I'm not one of those whiners over here. Stop talking about us. You beat us. We hadn't beat you in a decade. It's cool. Like I'm like Jermaine. I'm like Jermaine Jackson. Don't take it personal. Get your butt kicked. I mean, it is what it is. The facts are the facts. And especially last season, that was a mollywhopping. Now, the season before, that was a 1 point game. That was a really good game. And even the one that we messed up at Bragg, good game. The one in was the one in Jackson after a hurricane, pretty much. It was actually a solid game. I think that was pre-sevens. I think could be wrong. But honestly, I don't think James beaten Jackson State or defeated Jackson State really almost since the early 2000s, 90s. You know, while I'm a historian, when it comes to stuff like that, you got to win a streak. You got that. But my whys, these are my whys. What's your why? That's one of the questions we always ask people in business and anything else. These are my whys. Why I say fan you by 20. It's not to get under people from Jackson State skin. I'm not one of those people. I really don't care that much to get under your skin. I'm not trying to aggravate you, not trying to annoy you. And it's not because you lack importance. It's because for me, the point of talking trash is not that much. I rather let whatever is going to happen speak for me. And so I think Fanny's going to win by 20. One, because the transfer portal. Like, yeah, it's easy to point out if you're a Jackson State fan, you can kind of look and say, "Hey, we got some guys." You got some guys, but you didn't get what you got, what you lost. Like, damn, you got what they lost. Except for wide receiver, you got back what you lost. And honestly, you're not going to get back what you lost to receiver and transport. That's something that you're going to have to attack in mass. But as far as what they lost, like maybe had major acquisitions. We just lost the defensive lineman, and honestly, it sucks his reason. Not his reason is not good, but the circumstance sucks. The young man said he had to leave for family reasons. And you really don't want that to happen to any person, but especially a student. Like he's leaving for family reasons. That sucks. It hurts. But at the same point, that just opened up more scholarships for the team. We're really looking at that roster like I don't know where these scholarships coming from. And I honestly, I'm hoping that if everything works out well, that the gentleman can either come back to fam or I believe he's got offers at Prairie View and some other schools closer to home. That works out well for him as well. But just being honest, that's one of the biggest reasons why anybody's gonna point to that game and say, I don't know if Jackson State's gonna win. Like we can be real about it. We can be fake. Like we can be fake all day, and I can sell you wolf tickets. But we're gonna go position by position, and then some of them, believe it or not, are gonna be push. Like who's better, FAMU, Jackson State push. That's the way we're gonna do it. But it's gonna be more FAMU than Jackson State on this. If I'm being honest with you. Now, first thing we're looking at is quarterback. Now, when it comes to quarterback, it's FAMU. Like I'm sorry, you can say what you want to. You can argue, hey, these are the quarterbacks we brought in. And Jackson State's got quarterbacks that have transferred in from national programs. I mean, I got it up here on the computer because I did look through their roster. I'm not one of these people that's just going to sit up here and talk about it. Hey, you don't talk about us, we don't talk about you. No, that's not even scouting. Like when you're scouting someone else, you look at their roster, you look at what they do. So that 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 argument is one antiquated, but it's also uninformed. Like you need to know who the other team has if you're going to match up against them. And Jackson State's got a quarterback transfer from Virginia Tech, Louisiana Lafayette, North Texas, Syracuse, but they don't have a quarterback that's got a year in the system. Like, okay, yeah, Musa transfers from Vanderbilt, and you take that for what you want. Right? He didn't really play at Vanderbilt, if we're being honest. He didn't really get a chance to. He comes to FAMU, he looks proficient. He just does. When I was looking at the Jackson State spring game, and again, uh, whew, whew, I ain't gonna say what you said yet, Will, but um, one of the things that threw me off was it was exactly what I thought. FAMU's got a second-year quarterback that's coming into his second year in the offense, and go back and look at the spring game. Musa plays, but he's not putting anything on film for you to watch. Like he's not as immobile as some of you think he is. The biggest thing is he's looking over his shoulder and realizing the guys behind him ain't him. And the coaching staff knows that too. So looking at what Jackson State brought in a quarterback was right. If you got to bring in a bunch of quarterbacks, that means you don't have a quarterback. I don't disagree. Go back and look at those quarterbacks when they were at the schools they transferred at. Very few of them, you're over there snapping your neck like, oh, this dude was at Syracuse, he was balling. Like, nah, dude was at Virginia Tech and he was balling. Virginia Tech wasn't that good last year. Virginia Tech hadn't really been good since Marcus Vick left, if we're being real. Like, okay, not Marcus Vick. What's your boy, quarterback? The one who keep getting screwed over by the NFL. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The one who got the punctured lung. That was the last time Virginia Tech really had a really good quarterback. Ever since, it's been a lot of men. And honestly, when you're looking at a Jackson State spring game, man, the quarterbacks look rough. Like they just do. I mean, I could be funny about this, but they don't look good. They needed to bring somebody in, and as Will pointed out, when you're bringing in that many guys, it means you don't trust who you got in the locker room. How many quarterbacks of FAMU bring in? We brought in like two, but they no, they didn't sniff the fields. They're not going to. Part of it is they don't know the offense, but the other part is simply that they just aren't going to get a chance to play unless something happens, something catastrophic happens. And I don't like to say that, but it kind of is what it is. So we go in position to position, QB goes to FAMU. I'm gonna look, and I'm gonna mark a little chart here, just to make sure I wasn't speaking out the side of my neck. And some of y'all, whatever I say is gonna be out the side of my neck. Like it is what it is. Like I already know that. Now running back, I'm gonna say push, but it's a gentle push towards Jackson State. And the only reason is FAMU's offensive line was in question last year at times as far as our ability to run the ball, but we also did not have that breakout runner. Like we haven't found him. And not saying we don't have them. Oh, I think we have them. And I really, in my heart of hearts, feel like running back goes to FAMU. But I'm just gonna look at stats and I'm gonna look at data. And for this moment, I'll say push. And if I'm gonna push that hard, I'm gonna go Jackson State just because their offensive line is much bigger than ours, but also because of the lack of productivity that we saw for FAMU. Some of it goes back to what Will said about quarterbacks. If you have a bunch of running backs, then all of a sudden you don't have one running back. And we all believe in running back by committee. I mean, not we. I shouldn't say that. I believe in running back by committee. Let me not speak for you and yourself, but I feel like me personally, my favorite football teams and the best football teams I see have multiple running backs. Like, yeah, we talk about Emmitt Smith was a GOAT, and he was bad. But man, he had Sherman Williams back there. Sherman Williams. Like, how you got the paint dude that there behind you? Like, look at what the Jaguars had with Maurice Jones-Drew, and Fred Taylor. Back when we were still joking and call him Unsteady Freddie, and Fred found some help. Like, go back and look, best running teams didn't have 2 backs. Mercury Morris, Larry Zonka. Like, I'm telling you, I'm a football fan, especially when it comes to Florida teams. But even the Bucks, like when the Bucks win the Super Bowl, it's Michael Pittman and Mike Allstott and some guys. Like you don't normally have just one running back that carries it all the way, or you get those Barry Sanders situations where you go real far. At a certain point, Barry can only do so much by his darn self. Like he never had a great quarterback. Never had. I mean, Herman Moore was solid. I'm sorry. Like a lot of y'all sleep on Herman Moore. Herman Moore was actually legit. But that offensive line was never great. Like, and they never truly got that second back going. I don't know if that was just like pride or what. I'm gonna have to ask my resident Lions fan why that happened. I'm gonna bother him. But again, when going back to this game, I'm giving it to JSU, and it's only because of the productivity. But if you ask me, like, hey, we eating some wings, and I got my favorite non-alcoholic drink, sweet tea. It is sweet tea over there, even though it is an adult beverage class. Um, I'm gonna say FAMU, but if I'm looking at stats, I'm saying Jackson. Now, when it comes to receiver, wide receiver, I'm going to Jackson. I'm sorry. I'm giving that to JSU. And it's not because that's another one where if you ask me personally, I don't say FAMU. But when I'm looking at stats, I like stats and I like data. FAMU doesn't have a receiver that's coming back who's caught over 600 yards in a FAMU uniform, not last season. That's a problem. I mean, and the guys you got coming back, oh, the receiving room is deep, and the losses that they have on the other side are heavy. Like that is something. Like you look at what Jackson State just lost. You lost Weidman, who didn't play all season last season, but you lose a 6'4" receiver who is a coverage nightmare. And I don't think he plays in the OVC, if I remember correctly. Then you lose some of those other guys. I'm just saying, receiver wise, right now, based on stats, you go back and look at some of those guys they kept. They got 1,000-yard receiver coming back. That's the only reason. Otherwise, that's another one where I truthfully would tell you FAMU. But the part of me that wants to be like, hey, stats, analytics, whatever, whatever, is gonna say Jackson. And it's not because I feel some type of way about the program or that I just don't like. I like our receiver room. I'm done calling the Rat Boys 2.0. I'm done. I'm off that. But what I am on is statistically, we went over this a few days ago. That those stats returning, they're not impressive. Like you start adding the tight ends in there and it gets a little better. But when we're looking at what our wide receiver room is, we just had 1,000+ yard receiver that I believe Xavier accounted for like 40% of our offense leave and walk out and go to the NFL and honestly look like the next coming of a I won't say Miles Austin, but really like a Victor Cruz, height, size, weight wise. We're talking about a Victor Cruz type NFL player. And it's not like they haven't had success with that in the Rams. Look at Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is an FCS level receiver. He wasn't at the big with the big boys, Eastern Washington State University. This is not their first time producing these kind of receivers, maximizing them and doing something with them. So when I'm looking at 40% of my offense walking out with one player, I gotta go look at the other school and say, okay, I think with FAMU's acquisitions at receiver, even though we lack size, I think that's a big thing. But the other thing is that Jackson State's receivers are still tall. They still got a lot of 6 foot, 6'4", and 6'1" in there. FAMU, we stay within our 5'11", 5'10" area. And that's not saying that they don't deserve respect. But again, when I'm looking at returning productivity, I'm looking at size. I'm gonna throw it that way for you. But again, if you catch me and I got my cup with my little sweet tea in it, mm, I made that. Mm, hmm And I caught a piece of ice. I should not have put ice in it. Um, I'm gonna say FAMU, but for the Stats here. We'll say JSU. Now, O-line, FAMU all day. I'm sorry. Now, one thing I will give about Jackson State, they got some size. They got some 300-pound linemen on that roster. Go back and go over there and look at their roster right fast if you want to. If you feel so emboldened, and they got 328, 308, 324, 329, 320. They ain't got to do the three. That's 350 up there. 350-pound offensive lineman. But I will say this: I still think FAMU's line is better because I saw that spring game, and the most impressive offensive lineman on that roster at the time, transfer. He's at Middle Tennessee State. The rest of the line, I mean, they look okay, but you're gonna put 320-pound lineman up there, and I don't know if you're running high formation all game. And even if you are, and you got 300-pound defensive lineman, like it's one of those things. Unless you just sit up there and try to play bully ball with FAMU and try to mush us all game, the benefit of having a 300 plus pound lineman ain't what it used to be. Because if you're gonna play a spread style offense, all of a sudden for him to get into his stance and get his feet correct, man, that's a challenge when that dude coming off the line is 240, 230, and he running a legit 4.6, 4.7, 4.5. Like all of a sudden, this is the chess piece of the game where speed is going against strength. And I think what you're going to see interior wise, FAMU is going to use some of the size they have. They're also going to use those guys like General Hunt. General Hunt ain't no 6 foot line. He's like 5'11. He's a solid 300. Y'all just saw him do that knee bend the other day, that knee exercise. I forget the proper name of it. And you're looking at him like, dude, you look 250. Do not look 300 pounds, but you look at him, you're like, yeah, that's a solid 300-pound guy. That is really something that is going to be a problem because when it comes to running the ball, they're going to be able to do that. But can they fire off the ball and can they beat our linemen, defensive linemen, to the point of attack? And if they can't, you'll be living in the backfield, and you're going to be living in the backfield with a young quarterback that's inexperienced. And yeah, he came on his boat against South Carolina State. And don't get me wrong, South Carolina State, I probably respect them a lot more than some of y'all. But talent-wise, they're not FAMU, but they are damn near one of the best coach teams in HBCU sports. Buddy Pugh's a freaking great coach. But one of the things that with that is he coaches so well, sometimes in spite of, not because of, but his defensive line is going to raise hell. And you're going to give them that week before a Buddy Pugh D line, they're going to be bruised and beat up. Like we've seen that, and we already know what's going to happen come fourth quarter. If Buddy Pugh got an ounce of a lead, he's going to run the ball. Like we already look, it's not going to be sling the rock all across the field. It's going to be a very physical game. So you're going to come off that level of physicality against South Carolina State, and then bounce back, and you're going to be playing FAMU, and you're sitting in the sun. That's something. That's something a lot of us ain't going to sit here and talk about. Like you could laugh and joke and pick fun and everything else. But that first year we played Jackson State, it rained. Like I don't know how many of y'all remember. Pregame, it was sunny, it was gorgeous. And right before kickoff, we got a rainstorm. And the temperature was different. Like last year compared to that first OBC, I went to both. The temperature was completely different. Like I remember walking out of the tunnel at the OBC, and it was like, oh heck no, this is not it. I see what's going on. Like that heat was oppressive. Whereas that first year, I sat in the box and I was like, went in and out. But it wasn't that bad. Like it was hot. You are going to have to contend with that. And having big linemen that got to contend with that kind of heat, and you're sitting in the heat, by fourth quarter, it's gonna wear on them. I'm just saying. But O line, I got FAMU. Now D line, ain't gonna lie. I'm saying push on this one. And the only reason I'm saying push is because FAMU lost, we lost Isaiah Lane. Like, now we got Kamari Stevens coming back. You got General Hunt coming back. FAMU's got a formidable defensive line, but Jackson State's got a pretty good defensive line too. And you got guys like True Thompson coming back, the FSU transfer. But a lot of those guys, like, they don't have stellar stats. Like when True was at Florida State, his stats were okay. They weren't amazing at all. But when you start looking at some of their size, like some of these dudes are big. True's at 280. They got some 300-pound defensive linemen there. Like all of a sudden, again, that goes back to me in that heat. And having them sit up there in that heat is no joke. And I hate to steal my boy Herb's statement, but that's no joke. 300-pound lineman sitting in Miami sun. Like I understand Jackson heat is different. Man, look, Florida humidity is undefeated. And Tallahassee's the worst. Like y'all, you look, that humidity you got there is cute. It's normally 100% humidity in Tallahassee. Like right now, I went back to my class reunion last week. It was like, man, we walked around Lincoln High School for all of an hour and a half. By the time we finished, I needed a shower and a nap. Out and it was like, nah, bro. I still live in Florida, and this Tallahassee heat is something else. You taking that down to South Florida is going to be different, especially a week after you played a very physical game. It's going to be tough. And I don't think that Jackson State's lines is going to be able to sustain for 4 quarters, especially like I said, sitting in the sun. But also, I feel like FAMU's going to run tempo at the beginning of the game. They're going to start cramping up. Stuff's going to happen, and once that starts happening, I mean, well, cramps have killed many a good team. And it starts becoming that again, it's the chess piece of the game. It goes from just being my guys are bigger, faster, stronger to my guys are also well conditioned. We also have cooling areas and we have this and we have that. Like I can give you pickle juice all day long, but pickle juice ain't gonna fix but so many problems when it's hot and your body's tired. And you're coming off of a second week, a first week where you played a very physical football team, and then you go against a team that's gonna play not only physical but fast. That's gonna be an issue. I feel like, I'm not trying to speak anything existence, ill will on these kids, but I think by the first quarter, you start seeing players on both sides go down with cramps. And I just, hopefully I see otherwise, but I wouldn't be surprised. So D line, I said push. So if you're keeping track, it's a tie, 2-2, and then a tie. Now, linebacker wise, FAMU. Like we are not having that conversation. Like I'm not even entertaining you and your foolishness about this. AMU has the better linebacking core. Jackson State just lost their best defensive player and the best linebacker in the SWAC. And the only reason I say that is because Isaiah did not play linebacker for AMU. He was defensive end. But last year, yeah, that linebacker was definitely the best. I think Major was not far behind him, and that's part of that is that FAMU in me. But Jackson State lost an amazing player. You got to give credit to Jackson State. They put guys in the NFL past couple of years. We can't discount what time factor was for that program. I mean, really single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but his impact was that program went from being mediocre to amazing. Like, Jackson State for the longest time was a program that was just average. Like, yeah, they beat us. I can't take that from you. They weren't look at their records before Prime got there. It's like, man, y'all got 60,000 fans, kinda excited, like, man, y'all got it's a vibe. Why are you getting 4, 5 wins? Living really below their promise. But now, this is a 8-win, 9-win program consistently, 10 wins plus. I think this year they're probably sitting at 7 or 8. I mean, if they fall below that, I won't be surprised, but I'm not sitting over here waving the flag saying that the days of Jackson State being formidable are over. I think they are gonna still be good. I just don't think they're gonna be what they are. I have to watch a Grambling though, because yeah, they spend this money right. They're doing some things. We'll talk about them later. But linebacker wise, I gave that to FAMU. So FAMU's up one. FAMU's up one. Now DB, I'm giving that to FAMU. I'm sorry. Like, and it's nothing personal, but I'm still seeing Kendall Bowler, and I see those additions that FAMU made in the secondary, and I see the subtractions that Jackson State had in the secondary. If we're still talking about Hunter, Travis Hunter being in that secondary and a couple of other guys, I'm like, okay, Jackson State. But when I'm looking over and I see what FAMU has added in the secondary, it's and what they retained, I really can't go with Jackson State. And then I go and I look at what Jackson State has and what they brought back. It's not an argument. You got to look at the results, and it's the results that only matter. Y'all see what's coming, right? Um, and to me, I think FAMU's got the better secondary. Jackson State's got some decent size, and their roster is much easier to read because you know who the corners and who the safeties are. But it's not going to be enough to me. I really think when we're comparing DBs to DBs, I think FAMU's receivers with the additions are going to be able to make some plays. Whereas I think Jackson State's receivers are going to be able to make some plays. I don't think they're going to be able to make enough plays, especially when I look at what that quarterback was. And when I say look at what he was, again, I did watch that spring game. And one, there's a noticeable difference in production quality. But two, man, a lot of those passes are sailing. And I'm sorry, you can only throw so many passes high and over a receiver's head before he does this little move right here and looks around like you like, I'm not stupid. Like, I'm sorry. I play receiver. And hey, getting hit, it really don't hurt that much. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I never got hit to where it hurt. But I can tell you this, you do get tired of getting up. That's the other part. When somebody lays you out and they do ring your bell, like that's the thing. And when it's up there and it's gonna become a consistent thing, nah, you gonna let that thing fly. Like, oh, it's over my head. You put that hand up as far as you can reach and turn around and make sure you don't get clocked. And that's it, man. Because yeah, they're gonna hit you either way. But if you ain't got the ball and they see it's going over your head, nah, that targeting penalty is real. Like targeting is real in these streets. And them DBs aren't gonna hit you if you don't jump for the ball. Look for them corners to be real antsy and them safeties to get a pick because again, go back and watch the quarterbacks from Jackson State. They struggled from a lot of the same stuff we saw with Southern's quarterback that they started last year, where at times the footwork ain't there and at times the follow through ain't, and they don't look like the tallest guys. I mean, I've got the roster here in front of me, so it ain't. I'm not even speaking greasy upon your program. If you're a Jackson State fan, I just said I don't think y'all gonna lose every game, or in that saying that ain't saying much. I still feel like they're gonna have a winning record. I should say that like that. But I think that's huge, and I don't know why I lost the QB position here. But go back and look at some of those passes, even when they're running 7-on-7. They got a 6'4", they got a 6'3", um, 6'2", and 6 foot. But man, I mean, they're running 7-on-7, and the balls are flying. And it's like, man, there's no pressure. What the heck are you doing? Like 7-on-7 is when the ball is supposed to be on me. Like you throw that ball and I'm supposed to see the spiral. Like, why is it inaccurate? And so I just I'm giving that TV to FAMU. I think you start throwing inaccurate balls, I think any corner can catch it. But I think with Musa, it's less of a question of accuracy. It's the question of is he gonna go through his progressions well enough and not be so effing aggressive. Like Musa can be overly aggressive. That's what gets him in trouble. It's not that he's just inaccurate. Like Musa is actually a very accurate quarterback. It's just sometimes he's a gambler. And you were told that last season. Like I stated that when it became the Musa versus McKay thing. I told y'all I was a Musa man, but it wasn't because Musa was, so much more accurate. It was like, no, McKay is the accurate quarterback. Musa's the gunslinger. He's a gambler. But he's just smooth. Quarterback. Like when he throws the ball, that's what a quarterback looks like. When K throws the ball, it looks more like a baseball player. But it's accurate. Like he was accurate. He was very well versed as far as being able to get the ball to the right guy. Yeah, his progressions were a little slower, but go back through and you watch it, the progressions were slower because he wanted to make sure he was right. It's that person where, we kinda joke and say, "Scared money don't make money," but dude, and, in the quarterback school, you want your guy to get the ball on time, get it out, but you also want progression. If he goes through his progressions, he don't like what he sees, and he takes a snap for his 2 or 3-yard loss, or he throws the ball away, or he steps up in the pocket and gets 5. Okay. Opposed to, look, once you get an interception, I can't do nothing. Like, we're SOL at that point, and that's what we saw the difference. Now, special teams, I got nothing. I'll be real with you. I have nothing. I would say push, but I don't know what either team has. At FAMU, we just lost our special teams coordinator, but also as far as kickers and long snappers and punters, who, what do you have? It's like it really could go either way, and it's important. Like, let's be real, FAMU is a field goal away from this being a one-game losing streak opposed to a 3 or 4. Like, we lost 7-6, and we missed the field goal in that rainy OBC. Like, we didn't get our butt kicked that year. Last year, we got mollywopped. Like, we did. We took a full L on that. Now, go back over it, had QB, FAMU. Running back, Jackson State. Receiver, Jackson State. OL, FAMU. D-line, I said push. Linebacker, FAMU. DB, FAMU. So, position to position, I'm saying FAMU. Uh, so now coaching wise, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. I'm going FAMU. Like, and I don't not think that TC can coach. That's not me saying that. And hopefully I get my stuff is cleared for OBC. And I would tell him to his face, hey man, I don't doubt your coaching acumen. I'm fairly certain that you're going to be a good coach. But I'll say this, and your first day in coaching, man, that's like your first day in the job, man. Like the nerves, the butterflies, and it's okay to be cool in front of everybody, but something different when you're the guy. And that's some of it to me. I think those first couple plays, that's gonna be there. And it's gonna be imperative, especially if FAMU's able to start on defense, that you take advantage of that. And I'll be honest, if I'm TC, I don't care whatever happens, I'm deferring. Like, I want my defense on the field first because I'd much rather me make a nervous mistake on defense than for me to make a nervous mistake on offense. What does that mean? That means I put you in the wrong coverage and you get a big gain. Okay, you get some confidence, you get some momentum. But if I can hold you to a field, all right, cool. Where offense, and if I call the wrong play, this, that, and third, all of a sudden a turnover happens. Oh crap. Now you got the ball prematurely. And yeah, I got to turn back, but now if I get the ball, start the game at halftime, you get the ball back. So now I gotta find a way to make that one, I stop you from scoring, but that if you do score, the next time I stop you from scoring because at halftime you're gonna get the ball back. So if I'm taking State, I defer. That's just me. Um, and that is so that my defense can start the game off on the field. I feel like my defense is my strongest asset. And just and that's not me stepping into his shoes. Go back and listen to the spring game show. His It's a 4-minute interview, and what TC tells you is that my offensive line is a concern. Defensive line is I'm comfortable, but my defense, I'm very comfortable with defense. Whereas I need to bring in bodies on offense. I need to bring in bodies on. I need to bring in playmakers. You're hearing him say he needs to make acquisitions. He did bring in a lineman. He brought in a receiver, but what he's really missing is a quarterback, and he lost an offensive tackle at that. So you lost a left tackle who, if your quarterback is right-handed, is his blind side. That's a concern because now you lost it. I believe Devin was all SWAC, but a FBS level offensive tackle that transfers from FAU that then goes back to the FBS, you lose him. And now you're stuck with whatever you have. And I'm just saying, looking at the line, I don't know who plays tackle and who plays guard, but I don't think they're Devin, and that's a question because if they're not him, all of a sudden some of that ability to neutralize that defensive end like they did last year goes away. They really, I mean, they took away Isaiah Lane. They did. But then you double teaming him and everything else. I'm just saying I don't think it works as well. And I'm just saying schematically, I think Willie Simmons got a little something there. Now the advantage that TC has is we haven't seen his offense. We haven't seen what he's doing. So really the first 2 quarters of the game is really going to be learning on the fly. And it's probably going to be a very vanilla defense from FAMU. The problem is with that vanilla defense, you have athletes running vanilla defense. And let's just be honest, you got the Jimmies and they are able to run a vanilla defense, but do it at a high level, it don't look vanilla. It looks confusing. Whereas, like, just look at a team like in Alabama. Look at what they do against teams, even when it's a team that is not as good as them, and they run a very basic coverage, and the quarterback's throwing picks, and he's doing this. Like, how is this guy struggling on this basic level coverage? You're like, because those aren't basic athletes. Those are NFL caliber guys. Almost all of them are getting drafted. Like, look at some of these teams, and I think what FAMU's going to be able to do. Not saying that we're above average across the board, but I'm saying we're very good, and that's me. Now, players, that's me trying not to be arrogant. But I do think that in this game, it's FAMU by 20 because you have an experienced coach. You have a more experienced coach who's blown games. Like we can lie about it. Willie Simmons has blown games, but he's also won games. You also have a quarterback who's experienced. Second year in this same game, second year in this offense, and he won it going away. He won the position going away last year. Then the running backs, I did give it to Jackson State, but I'm just gonna say running back by committee. I really think FAMU's got the better run game, but I use stats. Receiver wise, I did go Jackson State, but it's another spot where I'm saying I think FAMU's the better team. And I think we're gonna give him hell. Just look at some of the guys who didn't play last year. We're gonna play this year for FAMU. But Jackson State still got a solid line. O line, I got it. It's not close. Jackson State loses too much to the portal. They lose their best tackle. Going against FAMU's defensive line, I don't think it ends well for them. Linebacker wise, it's FAMU. Like it's not even a conversation. They've lost with Aubrey Miller, and he's a really good player. I think that's going to be a place where FAMU is able to dominate, and I think FAMU gets the interception out of its linebackers or DBs. And DB again, I'm a fan. That's just I feel like Bowler Island over there is the problem, and I really think beyond the corners is really going to be the safeties. I think their quarterback is going to have some bad passes early, and he's going to cost his team. And I could be wrong, but look, I say it on wax. And again, it's one of those things. If I'm wrong, I'll wear it. I don't mind being wrong, but I'm not also willing to stand on what I said and mean it. So all that leads to me fading you by 20. If I'm gonna give you a final score, I don't think it's really a mollywhopping as much as I just think it's a comfortable 20-win game. Like so, score prediction. I'm gonna give FAMU a solid 38, and I'm gonna give JSU. I said FAMU by 20, 18. If I could type 18, it would work. But 18. I know 18 is one of those weird scores. I how they get 18, but um, I'll say 17 is a more likely score. So I'll say 38-17 FAMU for this one. I just think second half FAMU just shuts it down and runs the ball, and after 2 weeks of that kind of physicality, it's a riggedy wrap. So I do predict FAMU wins the Orange Blossom Classic and defeats Jackson State for the first time in over a decade in Miami, Florida. And hopefully, in the coming years, we can get back down there if they are ones that were mentioned in certain emails, but not written on contract because that was just an email saying, "Hey, I'll pay you this much," not a contract for you to sign on the dotted line. Anyways, but I digress, man. Big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home. Also, Herb Seward and the Black Techies. And before we go, man, it is the month of July. And if you have not already done so and you live in the Atlanta metropolitan area, check out Result Only Fitness. They're having their Founders 40 pre-sale membership special until July 10th. The first month is free. Go check him out on social media. Results Only Fitness. He just showed the gym. Got some new equipment coming in. He got equipment coming in this week. And that stuff's so clean, you can still smell the grease on it. It's gonna be fresh in there, and it's a dedicated FAMU and sponsoring. Also, if you are not aware, they're having the touchdown in Tampa Bay. This is me being the person that runs the FAMU Twitter page over here, shamelessly plugging FAMU's Twitter page stuff. But the NAA chapter in Tampa is having this event. They also have the ticket special that they are doing as well, which the Alumni Association is able to recoup some funds. And tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. I'll be able to update this. But South Dade, if you're not following on Twitter, they are called So Dade. I love that. Like it's kind of like So Fresh to me, but I think it's cool. They're having a family and friends event 4:30 to 8 at BJ's. You see the address on there, 8888 Southwest 136th Street, Miami, Florida. It used to be like a slime factory, but it turned into a BJ's. So again, that's me wearing that Alumni Association hat. Got to pay my dues in a few weeks because first day to pay was the couple yesterday. I'm just gonna wait for like a couple. I want to make sure I pay. Because yeah. So that being stated, though, y'all, again, appreciate y'all always watching. We're gonna come back on Thursday, and we got a little surprise. We were supposed to go to one of the games. We got a little surprise. We're gonna talk about this upcoming football clinic with the ladies. We got one of the coaches on here, so we're gonna definitely get ready and have y'all looking forward to that. So, as always, it's gonna be Fangs up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Dorsey